Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Best Damn Sports Show in Franklin County for Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. I am the Nighthawk, along with our studio engineer, Alan Richie Cunningham, and on our immediate right, my good pal, Mr. Duke Forrest.
Hey, Huck.
And all I can say, it was a glorious day today to mow the lawn.
Yeah, I did some lawn mowing.
Does it get any better than the month of September?
Yeah, nice day. Hey, I made it down to Killcare with a kid for a while.
Okay.
And have you
I haven't been on the lake for a couple weeks.
I haven't been down there for a while. You should see the sandbar. This was a very different ball game, which was surprising to me because I checked lake level now down to about 94.2 or so. But the sandbar is really, we walked out on it, in fact. We walked halfway to Mosquito, and we saw a sign. Ian figured, is that saying like no trespassing? And the sign, just a little sign, Wasserman Islet. And I can't tell you anything more about that. Hopefully not related to the Florida Congresswoman, who's not my favorite political, Deborah Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah.
But Wasserman Islet, a little sign out there.
Yeah.
But we would have been wet, probably not much over our ankles had we walked to Mosquito. But the sandbar, I was surprised.
Yeah, I think the water level is 94.0 something right now.
Is that right? Even a little lower?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that could be because there was much more sandbar than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful at Killcare.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do want to ask you a question before we get into sports. And I asked you the other night when we were golfing, and we didn't really have an opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's a serious question. I watch my Channel 3 11 o'clock news every night, or DVR it and watch it a little later.
And you watch Channel 3, you don't flip over to the other news stations, always Channel 3?
It's just because as a kid, remember Mickey Gallagher?
Sure. Stuart Hall.
And right.
Good night, good sports.
Tony Adams, who passed away earlier this year. So my question is, as I watch the socialist nation of Burlington with all those protesters down there, and the question you told me, somebody asked you the same question. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to myself. I say, self? Don't these people work? Yeah. And I realize the college is back in session, and there's a lot of college kids there, but don't you have classes? Don't you have to study? So my concern is more for these people like past college age, and that's generally speaking a young crowd, is, are they simply living in mommy and daddy's basement?
Sounds like a lot of these people are living on Battery Park at the moment. I can't tell you about that. I mean, obviously, unemployment, for the record, is still high. But yeah, you've asked that question about prior protesters. Nothing I can tell you. But what an issue! Good luck to Moreau and Burlington PD. I mean, what do you do if they just go in and drag all those guys off? That'll be a good national story.
And I'm all for women in high positions, and I had, even though I didn't know her that well, the utmost respect for the police chief down there, Jennifer Morrison.
Right, who of course said, hey, I got better things to do than to
so she told
come back to this.
Mayor Merle Weinberger, who I think is becoming more conservative every day, especially when the protesters went to his house Friday, right in his front yard. He was at his camp.
He's in a very tough position.
So she left him a letter that included sharp criticism of the city council. Yeah. And I quote, "It would be easy to just walk away by saying our medical situation doesn't allow me to return." But that would be the whole truth. She took a leave of absence around June 1st.
Her husband had some serious medical issues.
Which I don't know. But
they were in Boston for a long time.
Oh, really? Okay, you know more than I.
Wow.
So he went under the knife.
But the intention, she had intended to come back as interim chief until they named her permanent.
I heard nothing but good things about this lady. Right. The main reason I will not return is because I believe too many members of current city council are more interested in social activism than good governance. Morrison went on to criticize the city's new use of police policy for police, the decision to reduce the number of officers on the force, and the conduct of city councilors. So that city...
And some of the city councilors, the Progs, of course, responded in kind. Well, we don't want her back. She doesn't live in Burlington anyway, but the Burlington situation is crazy.
Yeah, I think I'm at the
point... Really, what do you do? You gonna,
for me
go
personally,
in and just haul them off to jail?
I'm protesting the city of Burlington. I will not go down there till the political climate is settled down.
Oh, yeah.
I will not spend a nickel down in Burlington. No.
That may be a while.
Or Burlington or mini San Francisco, whatever. They're not progressive on the council. They're socialists. They're devout socialists.
I don't care about the term. I just think they're way. I'm not going to get bogged down in what term to use, but I'm not sure. I just think this is way over the top. Of course, I wake up, as I tell you, every morning to WVMT, our old friend Ernie Farrar's old station, and Kurt Wright's a co-host. Former Burlington City. You can imagine he's going crazy.
Is he?
No, he was the
last Republican, right? There is not one Republican on that
city council president. Oh, yeah, he was the last Republican.
And I do remember him 8-10 years ago running for the office of mayor.
In fact, he had the most votes one election, and then they had their ranked voting system, which the Progs tried to put in again, only to have Moreau veto it, and they couldn't override his veto. But Kurt got the most votes way back when, but the ranked voting cost him the election.
So
he loves Jen Morris, and he had high praise for her today, and is really coming down hard on the Progs.
So you and I drag
and I'm no conservative, as you know. I think Burlington's just way over the top.
Yeah. You and I drag a tent.
Don't tell my friend Nora that. If she's listening, she would disown me.
Right. We drag a tent onto Battery Park June 30th.
Yeah.
So you and I start camping and roast some weenies. Do you think
of course,
you and I
they have Beansy's food bus here, the old bus here.
So my question is, do you think you and I would be allowed to camp for number of...
No, obviously not. Aside from the protests, no.
So
they would have grabbed
the police, state police go in there and start cracking heads?
Well, they can do that, Hawk, but look what's happening in the country and stuff. How many you have a bunch of protesters? What a scene that's going to be. That's going to be national news. I don't think Burlington really wants that. I think Moreau's in an impossible position. I think letting these guys, hey, we're going to stay till they fire the officers. Well, sorry, gang. They've already been investigated. Obviously, they're not going to do anything because of what you're telling them to do. But, I mean, it's going to be quite the scene, Hawk. You go in there, haul bodies off. It's a national news story. You want that if you're Burlington, a city that gets such good ink. Well,
I'm all for law and order.
Well, I'm sure Moreau and a lot of people don't. Even anybody on the council doesn't want that. Right. I don't know what you do.
But it's so funny, the selective law enforcement. So I leave the sports show here at 8 o'clock, go to Hannaford's and decide to steal a filet mignon. Do you think they're going to let me walk out of the store?
I would hope they would not do that.
Exactly.
It's just because of the whole, racial and Black Lives Matter. It's obviously totally hooked into that, and that's got the country in some pretty tough shape in a lot of cities. But I can tell you, nobody in Burlington. Well, maybe if you're there, I'm sure some people, the callers to VMT, I'm sure are saying, hey, get those people out of there and stuff. It's going to be just a huge scene if you do that, with a lot of publicity, and in the view of a lot of folks, a lot of bad publicity for Burlington. I literally don't know what you do.
So are you telling me...
I'm sympathetic to Weinberger. I don't know.
They'll be there till the cold November winds start.
I love how they say they're going to stay there until the officers are fired. Well, you better have some pretty warm tents getting into midwinter. Yeah. Like I said, I have no answer, but I don't think there's any easy answer to this.
Like I tell people, friends that I have out of state, you have absolutely gorgeous Vermont, then you have Burlington. They're just two separate worlds, and I always tell people, do not judge Vermont by the city of Burlington.
For the record, I would just give you the counter. I mean, I've had plenty of good times in Burlington. I have good friends who live there. It's a city that gets very good words. Which I think I see it all the time in top 10 most livable cities, best health care. It gets incredibly good words. So that's why I'm saying, I don't think, given its good reputation as a livable city, home of UVM, I just don't think the mayor is going to be too psyched about, okay, police, go in and haul those guys, get them off to jail. I think I'm sympathetic. I think he's in a impossible position. There's no good way around that, in my view.
When
I don't know what you do.
Is his term up? Because
maybe next year. I think Max Tracy, the very Prague City Council president, I think is already making noise about running against him. I think it's a 3-year term. I think next March or. I think in March or 1 year later than that.
Boy, if you want to talk about I'm burnt out in my position, this would be the apt
Although if you're Moreau, who I think is basically at heart, I mean, I mentioned my friend Nora. He's way too conservative, a developer guy. Sorry, Nora. No, Nora's not listening. She doesn't like him at all because he's way too conservative for her.
What is his business background, Duke?
I think I forget what he was on the airport commission, but I think a developer.
Okay.
I mean, developed a lot of housing and stuff.
Okay.
But I think is considered a pretty relatively moderate guy.
Yeah.
And I've never met him. I've seen him once in a Burlington restaurant and said hi to him. But I got to think again, he's just on such a delicate thing here. The Progs are in control now. So is he going to just blast away at them? That's probably not going to do him much good. I'm sympathetic, as I keep saying. He's in a tough position.
But when these people block the roadways,
I think
you've got to start cracking
that's crazy.
heads.
That's where I would crack heads there.
Yeah.
But just on the Battery Park situation, camping out, I just don't know what to do. I agree. If they're blocking the road, that's insane.
Yeah. So again, wait till the cold winds of November start bouncing off Lake
that's
Champlain.
Months away. Have they got some portable toilets, I hope, on Battery Park?
Probably by taxpayers' money bringing in porta potties.
Well, that's probably good money spent as opposed to the alternative.
Yeah.
But no, it's a tough situation.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I enjoy St. Albans, I enjoy Franklin County, but I can tell you this, I enjoy a heck of a lot more today than I did a month ago.
Yeah.
So
no, tough situation.
Okay. So Duke, we're literally 2.5 minutes away from the tip-off.
Yeah, pretty close.
Game
Although
6.
in fact, that tip-off won't be. I know 6:30.
6:40.
6:40
is right. So it's.
And I should have. Yeah, you heard me on the golf course after the. Maybe talk about game 3. I'm out at my camp and heard the. Horrible ending to the game for Celtics fans on radio, and I still haven't seen the tape. But I guess Jaylen Brown screwed up big time and acknowledged as much. But I just felt, oh man, this series may be gone, which I said on the golf course. But they regrouped big time in Game 5, and Jaylen had a very good game.
So
right? Game
3, and I don't remember how many points were we up.
Two points. 2 points. So again, I'm on radio at my camp, courtesy of NBA Radio on Sirius XM. And it was funny. I had the Celtic announcers. I heard some of the first half, and they had Cedric Maxwell and Sean Grande, the Celtics announcers for the first half, and then I guess they flipped over to the Toronto announcers in the second half. So I'm coming back from my local restaurant out there, Chez Pigeon, hearing some of the game, incredibly tight game, and probably at about the fourth period I get back to my camp, go down and read for a while, but purposely came up with about maybe 3 minutes or so left. Yeah. Tight game, and again, I guess Celtics made a great play to get it into Tice for the apparent, ostensible game-winning basket.
Kemba Walker gave Daniel Tice a bounce pass, and Tice was all on underneath the back and stuff. That would have went down on the annals of Celtic history.
Is that right?
It was such a great play.
That's such a key moment.
Timeout. 0.5 seconds.
So 0.5.
Here I am lying in my bed going, of course, DVR, watch it later at night, and I'm going to myself, holy macro, we're up 3-0 against the world champions. Who would they're going to lie down in Game 4. We're going to sweep just like we did the Sixers. Unbelievable. So.
And I got the Toronto radio announcers who are absolutely throwing in the towel pretty much.
So Brad Stevens sends in 7'5". Is that how?
I think he's something like that.
Taco Fall comes in. He's got literally a 10 feet wingspan.
Yeah.
And I don't remember.
That probably made sense.
Who was throwing the ball in. So Taco was like this.
Yeah.
And the good thing about playing in the bubble, there's more space.
Obviously no fans.
There's no fans right behind you. So he literally took the ball, and I will say, that was a lot of pressure scoring the basket. And I told you on the golf course, but everybody can make a 3-point basket now. Yeah. It's just the incredible. He threw the ball, lollipopped it, rainbowed right into the corner. Well, I think it was Ibaka that scored. Serge Ibaka, was he the one that scored?
I guess. Like I said,
he got the ball again. Yes. Clock does not start until
he touches it.
So the pass was so perfect right there. One motion.
Did he jump? Was he just on his feet, or did he catch it and do it?
Oh no, he caught it and just quickly had enough time. Yeah, and you just got to get off your fingertip.
Yeah,
and
which he clearly.
Does. Easily. Ball went up.
Wow.
NBC, nothing but cord.
Is that right?
And I'm going,
The Toronto announcers are just screaming, and it just ruined. I had a great time at camp. That just talk about ruining my night.
Yeah. So, I just in complete disbelief, and kudos to the Raptors. That was an incredible pass.
Yeah.
So, Game 4. They stole our lunch and ate it.
Toronto,
they
clearly
just dominated the game.
Yeah.
So here we are. I'm starting to get a little jittery.
Me, I was almost throwing in the towel.
Game 5, and the Celtics were up by 26 points
first
at halftime.
At the half?
Yes.
Really?
And they probably won. I'm trying to remember, by 21.
So just kind of coasted to the second half.
Yeah. So.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't give the Celtics more credit. I was just freaked out after that shot, and then a tough Game 4. But hey, kudos to the Celtics for regrouping.
Yeah. So.
But I guess we shouldn't say the series is over. But Toronto. Well, I was going to say Toronto better win tonight. Yeah, I guess they better win tonight if the series goes to, which would be 2 nights. Right? They're playing every other night, right?
Yeah. Marcus Smart today was announced on the first all-defensive team.
Is that right? That's
so
legit,
richly deserved.
Yeah.
I can watch this guy play 24. Hustle.
Sure. Like I said, the Dustin Pedroia of Boston Celtics.
Yeah. So Celts play tonight, 6:40, and the Clippers at I say at Denver. They're all playing in Orlando.
Yeah.
But
Clippers in Denver.
Clips are up
also tonight.
2-1.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, LA at Houston. The Lakers, the Fakers are up 2-1 on that.
LeBron coming off a very impressive game last night.
And
36 points. Bunch of blocks, assists.
Yeah.
This guy can still play.
I'm salivating. Me wants the Celtics and Lakers.
Lakers.
And you asked me 3 weeks ago, hey, Hawk, are the Celtics going to miss Gordon Hayward?
Yeah.
And I said, his points will be distributed around, which it has.
Yeah.
Now, you're talking a different animal when you're playing the Lakers.
Yeah.
And
so you'd like to see Gordon back, in fact?
My humble opinion is he's been mismanaged, Hayward. He never should have been put in that starting lineup. He should have been the infamous Celtics sixth man. Okay, where are the Celtics weak at?
Frank Ramsey days.
Duke. Where are the Celtics weak? Their second unit. Because that's the nature of the beast now.
Yeah.
Because when you got megastars
who are paying mega bucks,
right? There's a little money to go around, and hence you have a lot of rookies on your team. Well, Gordon Hayward would be
interesting.
The assassin on the.
Has Brad Stevens? That subject I suspect has come up? Has anybody asked him?
I haven't really heard it come out of his mouth, but I would prefer to keep Marcus Smart on the first unit, and that way he just plays defense. Now, another radical way of playing is you bring in Semi Ojeleye.
Yeah. Who had a Duke, logged a little time at Duke.
Duke and Texas Tech.
Is that where he went? He transferred after, I think,
he went 2 years to Duke.
Was it 2 years?
And again, when somebody
it wasn't. I almost thought it was Syracuse, but I
think it was somewhere in Texas.
Right.
But he left Duke and had nothing but glowing things. He said, hey, I left Duke, probably was due to playing time.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with the program, the coach, or anything. But, who in the hell is Semi Ojeleye? Well, he's not going to touch the ball anyways on offense. Just he's a good defender, play defense. This way you got Hayward and Marcus Smart on the second unit. You know, like I said, a radical way of thinking, and perhaps that's why I'm not.
Well, Major League Baseball finally came around to your thinking on relief pitching, starting games. So maybe it'll just take the Celtics another year or two.
And before I even get into baseball, before I forget, and I'll get into baseball a little later, but the Nats had a 2-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays, who was managed by the radical thinker Kevin Cash, who stole my idea of having an opener.
You didn't even get anything
and again,
for your efforts.
Right. No kudos coming my way.
You should have patented that.
I told you 10 years ago, before anybody even thought of this.
I give you that credit, for sure.
And Kevin Cash thinks, it's fun to watch the Rays. His alignment of defense, and I don't remember what Nat player was up, Duke. He had 4 outfielders, and when I say 4 outfielders, I don't mean a short fielder. He had 4 outfielders like softball, where they were all playing straight away, 10 feet from the warning track. Never had seen that in my life. And I think even the Nats announcers have never seen that.
And Tampa Bay having their usual great year with their low payroll.
Right. And we, like I said, we played them twice, beat them both times, which means nothing. But they're just a bunch of no-names on this team. And every year, I certainly show them a lack of respect. I completely discount them come spring training.
In fact, Tampa Bay easily, we'll talk about the Yankees are floundering.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay easily in first place in the AL East, right?
Yeah. So let me get over to hockey. Well, I'll tell you another thing I just thought of. Actually, tomorrow night, the start of NFL season, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, ever can recall the 4 major sports all playing at the same time.
That's a good. I mean, why would we ever be seeing basketball and hockey?
Hockey starts in October, so there are 3 leagues playing, but basketball doesn't start until November.
Great point.
And by that time, baseball is done.
Yeah, probably first time ever, I would think. Yeah, good point.
So,
wow. So, Celtics, you after their impressive Game 5, you feeling pretty good about the Celtics tonight, or still kind of toss up? You think Toronto's a pretty good team.
They're the world champions.
What did they say after have to say after the last game when they got killed? I
didn't hear anything, but you know what? I'd rather lose by 20 than by 2. I mean, Duke, I don't have to tell you, sports, especially golf, the great athlete is the consistent one, okay? But even like pro golf, for example, and I tell you all the time, where Duke Forrest shoots a 66 on Thursday, doesn't make the cut, and I go, what the hell? You shoot 84 on Friday, and that happens to the pros. But baseball, I mean, you see a lot. Like the guy hits 40 home runs, but he'll go on a streak for 2 weeks and hit 8 home runs then for the next 2 weeks, maybe 1 home run. And that's just the way sports is. Now, getting back to your original question about Raptors, they'll be ready tonight. Now, we must add, they are minus 1 player from the championship team.
Yeah, not a bad player, Mr. Leonard.
Right.
Well, which is why a lot of people think the Clippers are the team to beat, maybe, although I'm not sure I think that.
And I'd be remiss if I did not say of the upset of the Miami Heat over the Milwaukee Bucks.
5 games.
Yeah, 5 games,
Although the Greek Freak didn't play in Game 5.
Right, and I did see today he was appreciative of Bucks management not making him play the game. That he was again appreciative of their long-term health. Versus playing,
So let's say, and again, I'm assuming
you
nothing.
Can say
I never assume nothing, but just say if the Celtics beat the Raptors, which they should, leading 3-2. How do you see Celtics Miami? Miami's a pretty decent team here.
Miami plays team ball. As I said on the show last week, Eric Spoelstra,
very good.
If it's not the best coach in basketball, it's definitely a top 3 coach. Our old friend Jimmy Butler is down
Jimmy,
on that
who I've
team.
never paid much attention to, but Jimmy's
Jimmy can play round ball.
Yeah. Who's the Celtics? There were rumors about weren't there rumors about the Celtics should go after him for anyway. There are, I guess, rumors about Jimmy Butler and a lot of teams.
And of course, your old friend from Ontario played with us for 3-4 years, Kelly Olynyk.
Oh, Kelly, boy, coming off a very good game.
Yeah.
Very good game for Kelly.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward
Justice Winslow, is he injured? Is he not even playing? I didn't see him in highlights at all. And I know you said he hasn't.
There is a reason why he's not playing.
Not good enough?
He's on the Memphis Grizzlies.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I lost that.
He's been a bust. Period.
Sorry,
I mean,
sorry,
they just. I know you don't like to hear a former Duke player,
hey,
but but yeah,
So
and I'll be
he's
honest
not
with
even
you.
on the team?
And again, Danny Ainge offered every draft pick,
You
which
said that.
included 2 draft picks
Yeah.
and a couple second round, to move up to Miami. I can't remember if it was the 9th or 11th pick.
Wow.
Danny Ainge was in love with Justice Winslow. So
sounds like that was just
the
as
Heat
well,
said
that
no,
didn't happen.
and an injury
So he's
world
gone
career,
anyway.
Miami. They didn't bother to re-sign him. He's with the Grizzlies, and I think when we played them late in the season, I think he was injured.
So how do you, if it comes to that, how do you see that series? Tight series?
Well,
close to a toss-up?
I
Or?
just think between Walker, Brown, Tatum,
and then Jason.
and the unsung hero Daniel Tice, the center. Has
And
been
Marcus,
playing
tenacious defense.
Great, right? Marcus Smart, and you got Robert Williams coming in to spell
Playing some
Tice,
ball.
playing some good ball. The Celtics
So you like-
are a good team.
like the Celts?
And the thing too, Duke, about playoffs, your bench gets real short. We talk about team depth during the regular season, which matters, but during the playoffs,
Right.
the
My
bench
biggest knock
shrinks.
on Coach K and stuff,
Right.
who seems to me never plays his bench enough.
Yeah. So
Interesting. And I don't mean to get ahead of ourselves, but Celtics obviously advantage. Be nice if they could wrap it up tonight.
I would love to run my big mouth and say, "Don't worry about it, Celtics will win," or give a Nighthawk guarantee.
Why would you say that?
But the Raptors, I think too. What's interesting about the series, the Raptors. According to the analytics, is ranked second best defensive team in the NBA, where the Celtics rank 4th. So you are actually seeing some tenacious ball.
And again,
being
Coach of
played
the
here.
Year, Nick Nurse. Have I got
Nick
his name
Nurse,
right?
I think, got 98% of the first place votes. Yeah, I mean,
Again, just with Kawhi gone, I guess a lot of
you
figured,
lose
well,
Kawhi
John, I'm
Leonard.
glad you had your good year.
And unfortunately, one guy won't make a team great. However, you take that one great player away, and it can really tear the house down. And of course, Kawhi's playing with Eclipse, and I expect them into the Western Conference Finals, which will be interesting. The Clippers and Lakers.
Clips and Lakers, interesting.
Now,
boy, you're not going to be able. Boy, with all the fans from both teams, boy, how can they get into the Staples House? Right, they can't go to the game.
Now, what I would have done this year, just for the sake of change, due to this year, I would have taken the top 16 teams and just put them in first place 16.
Irrelevant of where
Irrelevant.
They were.
So where it could have been the Clippers and Lakers in the finals, so that's tonight, and I always tell you when
I'll get back. You tape, of course. I'll get back to at least some of the second half.
When I die and go to heaven, and straight to heaven, and when St. Peter opens up those pearly gates, I'm going to say, "Hey, Pete, I just need to talk to Jesus just for 30 seconds." And he'll say, "Yes, Nighthawk." I'm going to say, "Jesus, thank you for the DVR." And I'll be honest with you. Without the DVR, I wouldn't be doing the show tonight. There's no way. If there was no invention
and
of
I would have done it solo
right.
if need be.
So the show gets done here at 8. I'll be home by 10 after 8, and I'll start watching it.
Yeah, in my case, I get what I get. I watch too much TV anyway. So, but I've got a newfound friend who tapes everything just like you. I mentioned you to.
Who's that?
Well, won't go into it, but just a friend who tapes everything.
Oh, she's okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
I would say 99% of what I watch is recorded.
Yeah.
like I said, I watched the Channel 3 11 o'clock news, probably at 1 in the morning.
Hawk, let me mention, I felt bad. I think I might have given it about 1 second, but for the record, and some pretty decent tennis. U.S. tennis is going on, and again, there's been some. It's interesting. We'll have I think it's worth talking a second about what happened to Novak Djokovic. You know what happened to him? Did you catch that news?
Duke, before you're the
again,
tennis
no
expert.
Federer, no Rafa,
right.
Novak Sear. Who else is going to win
the? I actually, for your amusement, and I know nothing about tennis.
It's a little,
not
a little
professional tennis. Now, could I go play with you? Hit about but I actually did a little preparation for. But
well, you may be ahead of me.
I can't even pronounce the names, but let.
Some of them are tough
because they're all no names left here.
Well, no, that's not true. I mean, on the men, probably the two likeliest winners on the men's side are Dominic Thiem, who's just been a one slight rung, like a quarter rung below your Rafa's.
Right. But
he's very good.
But
and
like I said,
Medvedev, the Russian, and that was a 5-set final last year in the U.S. Open against Rafa. Rafa somehow won it. Medvedev probably deserved to win it.
Right.
So you have some good players.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not good.
Not well known.
But I could walk up to Collins Purley into the gym right now, and what's Noah Tim? What's his name?
No, Dominic Thiem.
There's not going to be one person in that gym that's going to know who this guy is.
Not many.
And that's why tennis is not popular anymore, is because Americans have shied away from this
but
sport.
In general, if you get past American, that's why it's kind of cool this year, because you're going to have a new Grand Slam winner on the men's side. And Serena won earlier today.
Yeah.
Serena's still trying to get, I think, the most majors. I think she's tied with it.
I think she has 24. Let me, and I'll give you the floor. But Serena,
actually,
she lost 6-4 first set, then 6-3, 6-2 over Parankova, don't know her. She'll be playing. I'm going to hand you the sheet. I can't pronounce these names.
I may do no better.
I don't. I've heard of Osaka. The rest, some gal from the USA, Rogers.
Ms. Shelby Rogers got beat. Ms. Brady's still in there from the U.S.
Yeah.
So you have at least 2 U.S. women.
So that's the women. Yeah. And the men, when I looked at I've heard of I can't pronounce his name.
Medvedev. I think Putin's second in command. I think the guy who was actually president of Russia when Putin, at least in name, took a break for a few years was another Mr. Medvedev.
Right. And I think Putin changed the Constitution
Putin's
so he could get
until he dies.
So here's the men. So I said, I'm going to impress Duke, but I can't fool anybody. I don't know what I'm talking about.
And the other women, Ms. Azarenka and Ms. Mertens. Yeah, no, a lot of not big. But, of course, Naomi Osaka, who's playing very good, she knocked off Shelby Rogers. What's that?
The men's. So tell the folks about...
but you remember, Naomi, this is why you had such bad feelings, understandably, I think, for Serena Williams. This was Naomi Osaka, who won a couple of years ago when Serena had one of her occasional meltdowns. And, here's poor Naomi wins the thing, and all the attention is on Serena for being so crazy and stuff. Although she was, when they're finally up to get the trophies, she was gracious at that point. But talk about being overshadowed. But Osaka's very good.
And she was crying. The poor thing.
So we have some good tennis coming out.
So the women's final, I believe, is Saturday.
Typically, in the old days, it was Saturday and the men's Sunday. But like I said, I'm not paying huge attention.
Yeah.
So on the men's side, you got Dominic Thiem, Mr. Medvedev, Alexander Zverev, who again's been knocking at the door. He's just like a pretty high second team. And then you have a guy who I didn't know. I was hoping you had a Canadian. I watched some of this match last night, Mr. Shapovalov, a Canadian, a really entertaining guy, but who got beat 5 sets.
So Duke, it begs the question.
Got beat by Mr. Carino Busta, who I don't know.
where
Good job, Hawk.
Oh, I thought.
Well, some of the players like Rafa and I think Federer might have had an injury, but Rafa.
Where
I
are
think,
the Americans?
Oh, well, again, on the women's side, there are Americans. So, what can I tell you?
I mean,
men's side, John Isner, I think probably your top guy, like number 20 in the world.
John
Isner,
tall
guy.
That's your.
He might be. I mean, he's one of the top-ranked men. Yeah. American
Duke,
men have had a tough time. That must be killing the McEnroes.
But as a kid, back in the 70s, teenager, tennis was popular. I mean, it was a major event. You know, with the personalities
and again,
they had in the game.
John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors and stuff, which helped.
Ilie Nastase was huge.
Yeah.
Bjorn Borg.
But I think if you get past U.S. men have had a down cycle here for quite a while, which must pain the McEnroe brothers, who do a very good job with their TV announcing. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But again, on the women's side, there are plenty of good and some very young U.S. women. Yeah. So don't just dismiss the U.S. It's on the men's side.
I looked at the Nielsen ratings this weekend versus, say, 1975, I would be willing to bet it's probably 20% viewership of what it used to be. It's not a major sport anymore.
Could be.
Not in this country.
Yeah. When you say major, if you're comparing it, it's certainly not can't compare it obviously to football, the four biggies. No, it's certainly.
But it just doesn't garner the attention.
Yeah. Well, again, of course, you don't play. I still play tennis, so I'm not. Personally, things haven't changed that much. Although, to be honest, I don't watch as much tennis as I used to, and maybe don't pay quite as much attention to it. But I'm not sure it's down as much as as you think, because tennis doesn't mean anything to you. But you're right. The no U.S. men doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, but good job, Hawk. You did a little tennis homework.
A little research. So, heading over to the baseball.
Let me just get back
tell
to
about the disqualification.
Novak.
Yeah.
Again, so Novak was looking good. No Rafa to deal with. No Federer.
Was he ranked number one in this tourney?
Sure. I mean, if he wasn't ranked number one, he was the obvious number one. Yeah. So again, I didn't see this live, and I just heard. I maybe watched a later match and heard Djokovic defaulted or was thrown out or something. I said, what? And it took a while to find out what happened. I finally saw the tape, and he wasn't having. I'm not even sure he was ahead of the match, but I don't even know who he was playing, to be honest. But again, he was not happy, and you'd see what these tennis players do. They frequently throw their rackets on the ground. But I guess earlier he had hit one ball to the sideline, just upset, not happy about something. So he did it again. He just kind of hit a ball behind him. I'm not sure he was even looking at what he did.
Sure.
And guess what? Much to his misfortune, not to mention the lineswoman's misfortune, he hit this lineswoman in the throat with the ball. And this wasn't like a 100-mile-an-hour serve, but it was a pretty good hit. And she crumples to the ground and stuff. Turned out she wasn't seriously hurt. And that's all I saw. I just saw that bit of the tape. But at that point, there's a big huddle and stuff, and I guess Djokovic was horrified by what he did. Quickly apologizes, but I guess didn't think he should be tossed. And I guess there was I don't know why. I heard somebody talking on radio today talking about it, saying, "Hey, what he should have done was grab the mic and said, 'Hey, I'm mortified. I'm appalled by what I did. I'm so sorry, and I'm gone. See you next year.'" But of course, he had a championship. I mean. Most people would have bet Djokovic against the field in this tournament. Yeah. Anyway, so a long discussion, but I guess the rule's a rule. I guess And so I think they've been too good to these players. I mean, Serena goes
happens
crazy,
all the time.
Throws rackets down. Anyway, I guess the rule is if you hit somebody, you're out of there. So he argues for 20 minutes, and finally it's over. So he's gone.
He doesn't have a history of anger issues?
Well, no. I mean, nothing like McEnroe and Jimmy Connors. Right. It makes me think of maybe John McEnroe's last Aussie Open, going back decades. And his conduct was outrageous. He was on the edge so often. So he's in the Australian Open, and I'm probably watching this, and he just keeps getting penalties for just bad language or something, and he's been through this a million times, but he miscalculated. They give you maybe 3 strikes and you're out, and I guess he thought the last thing he did was strike number 2. Turned out it was strike number 3. And I think it was probably a language thing. throwing his racket, whatever. Hey, John, you just blew it. You're gone.
Wow.
So they tossed him out. That's what I kind of thought of that. And McEnroe, of course, I wonder if he mentioned that as he's announcing this stuff. But kind of a crazy thing. But I think the rule was pretty clear. If he did what he did, he's gone, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Thanks. That's more tennis than we usually give out. But there's some more good tennis left.
Yeah. So,
and we'll see if Serena can finally win that elusive.
Is it hot in here, or is it me?
I don't feel. I feel okay.
Well, I'm dying in here. Phew.
Yeah, you got more clothes on than me.
Well, I've got a T-shirt, my vintage Nationals.
And again, kudos to Ian. I know you love my old Patriots, your old logo. Thank you, Ian.
Listen,
he came up with this.
In my
go Pats.
My humble opinion. Yeah. Pretty much
one of the best
Patriots
logos?
Have done virtually nothing wrong in the last 20 years. Forget Spygate and all that stuff.
Except to go with their new corporate-looking thing.
When they switch from that really brilliant red jersey and that great helmet with the Minuteman, I mean, to me, it was classic stuff. And they went to the, looks like U.S. Postal Service logo in silver. It just is ugly. And
I would have worn that tonight, but fortunately I found this. I was afraid I couldn't find it.
I would like to see New England wear their old uniforms at least once this season.
Be nice
to do that. So, so I want to hit baseball, and congratulations to the Boston Red Sox because they're doing what I said they need to be doing.
Why win another game?
God bless them.
15 and 29, I think. Hawk?
They're 15 and 29. Wow. So if the season ended right now, come June, Duke, you've got the first pick in the amateur draft.
Worst record right now.
Big.
Of course, they actually won the second game of their doubleheader against the Phillies last night.
So on their heels, a half game back is Texas and Kansas City. So what you need to be doing now is scoreboard watching, and of course root for the Sox to lose. Pittsburgh is one game out in the fifth spot, so just keep losing. And it's funny too, because I've always said almost on a weekly basis here, the Red Sox are horribly bad this year. The proof is in the pudding here. However, this is not a bad franchise here. Just a ton of injuries. Now,
but again, that said, I think you're being a little too kind. I mean, next year I heard the 101.3, Buster Olney was on the 101.3 show today, and he's saying, boy, Chaim Bloom, this year's a disaster, and Buster's saying, boy, I'm not sure next year is going to be dramatically better. But I wonder if you're going to start hearing some rumblings about Mr. Bloom.
Right. Well, boy.
And also he mentioned Chris Sale. I guess Chris Sale's not back early. I guess he's not back at the beginning of next season.
Is news to me.
But listen, this is not a good team.
The Nats, the world champion Washington Nationals, when they lost Steven Strasburg, I said, well, that's it. Because I would have bet my life that even though they lost some players, that we will make the playoffs.
Especially with the easy 8 out of 15 teams in each
I said,
league.
okay, but this will be fun in October. Well, at least we'll watch a little October baseball. Well, Strasburg went down.
And, of course, Anthony Rendon going off to the West Coast.
Playing for the Angels and playing well. But
and also, Mr. Soto, what was a COVID he came down with?
He missed the first week or so, and he's had some injuries, but Soto is playing great.
All right.
Limited time, he still has 11 home runs, hitting 340. The kid is unbelievable.
Wow.
Now, the Angels, who I crap on every week for signing Rendon, seventh worst record, 17 and 26 record. That's a winning percentage of .395. Mike Trout just hit home run 300.
Right, and the youngest to do so, or number? I think youngest or the third youngest. I heard that reference.
Arguably the best player in our generation, generation. And A, he plays out in the West Coast, and B,
for a bad team,
they're a horrible team. And misspending, they gave Rendon, maybe $350 million. And with no pitching on that team. Now, back to the Sox. Chris Sale is news to me. But looking to next April with my rose-colored glasses, I assume Sale would be back. Okay,
but apparently not right away.
Erod would be back.
Who's got issues? Has some heart issues in addition to all his other injuries.
Right. His problem is a decent pitcher, but he's so injury prone. You would sign a free agent pitcher. you have Eovaldi, number 4, and a guy who's actually about the only guy that's pitched well as a starter is Martin Perez. Okay? Well, lo and behold, I quickly looked at the free agents this winter. And
is he just a one? Is that just a 1 year?
Yeah,
really.
Because I wouldn't mind Perez on my team next year. His ERA is right around 4.
You think the Red Sox would obviously try to keep him, but boy, is that right? So he might be gone.
I told you all the trash the Red Sox have in their pitching staff.
God, who are these guys?
One would emerge as a decent player, and Perez has turned out. Plus, he's left-handed.
And I have more faith in Mr. Eovaldi than you do. I realize his numbers aren't good, but I still think he might be a decent lower rotation pitcher next year.
But the problem is, Duke, the Red Sox issue the last couple of years has been money. And they took a low-end rotation guy, gave him $18 million. He, at best, is worth half of that.
And, of course, and believe me, I could quickly name another 3, 4, or 5 contracts that are way worse than that, of course.
And like after the World Series, the MVP of the World Series was Steve Pearce. Right.
Just they gave, $6-7 mils?
Right. They gave him
for a couple of at-bats.
And I think that was more
not even going into Pablo Sandoval or Rusney Castillo, who I think mercifully is this. I think this is the last year that they're paying him.
Yeah, and
So Hawk, I mean, you're making my case. I think anybody who thinks the Red Sox are going to just turn things around next year and be back to I think that may be a real stretch.
Okay.
I wouldn't think that right
Andrew
this second.
Benintendi. 2 years ago, we were salivating
what do you do
over this guy. He played a limited amount of games this year. He's out.
I think he ended up 3 for 30, or did I miss a few at bats here? That's what he was for a while.
He's got a batting average. I don't have the stats in front of me.
That's what he was
105.
For a while. Okay, he did nothing much change.
105. So he had a bad year last year.
And it looked horrible.
Yeah. And I don't want to judge anybody because on this season, however, if you're the general manager, you have to judge of what you have.
Huge concern about, what do you do with him?
He'll be back, and as I said,
the one bright spot is Mr. Vertugo. This guy looks like the real deal.
This guy is a dirt ball player. He just
and for people who think how could they not have kept Mookie Betts and stuff, that's one good reason why I have no concern. I think the Red Sox couldn't have kept Mookie. But Vertugo looks like a very good ball player.
I saw him play a number of times with the Dodgers last year, and the Dodgers had a plethora of good outfielders. Cody Bellinger, the current MVP. And he's playing MVP-like, and Mookie Betts is MVP-like.
Mookie's having a very good year.
And when it comes to
Dodgers
time for MVP, Betts is going to steal votes from Bellinger and vice versa. They're just a great team. And I'll sit here and look at the camera right now forget the playoffs. After what the Dodgers happened to them last year with the Nats beating them, they're back with a vengeance this year.
Talk about a lot of this is from today's Wall Street Journal. I read the story even. Can baseball's best team prove it? The Dodgers seeking their first championship since. Guess what? We got a phone call.
We have a call.
Imagine that.
Good evening. Oh, boy, I'm sweltering here. You are on the best damn sports show in Franklin County. Hello.
Hello, guys. How are we doing?
Hey, you're coming in loud and clear, I'm happy to say. How you doing? So are you more optimistic than me, Bobby, about the Red Sox next year? Boy, I'm not real optimistic right now.
Now, you know what this guy, I think, came in to do was strip the team down, keep 2 or 3 players for your core, and, start, the process of, rebuilding.
Rebuild the farm system, too.
That's what the Houston Astros did. That's what the Washington Nationals did. And when the Red Sox won the World Series last, that's what they did. It's kind of been proven filling in with these free agents just don't work. Your successful teams seem to, be a group of people that play together. Now, I'll give you another example of something worse than the Red Sox. It's a team called the New York Yankees.
Unbelievable.
Now, this coach they ought to send him to Timbuktu. Boone, he was a nice player and everything, but all he is a yes sir and no sir. He tries to be the player's best friend, and he says what he thinks is right, but by no means is he a good coach whatsoever. He's kind of called Sanchez out. He called this guy out. He called that guy out. Well, to me, especially today, it's up to the manager or coach, if you will, to have your players prepared. Sometimes it isn't your players' fault. It's your coach not having them prepared. And the Yankees, I mean, they have their typical load of injuries. And, you got to look there as their trainers. Why do we have 15 injuries while, all the other teams have 3 or 4? They're a mess again this year, and they're certainly not going to go far in the playoffs. So, speaking of Red Sox, I think we're getting out of them really what was expected. They're a tad worse than I thought they were going to be. The team, to me, to really be putting the finger on is the New York Yankees.
I would say, to me, that's actually the biggest surprise, because I thought they were just going to absolutely run away from
Brian
everybody.
Cashman, I think, headed down to the locker room the other day. And I agree. The Yankees are a huge story.
And caller, you're the American League expert, and I mentioned earlier, I always show Tampa no respect, and also the Oakland Athletics. I mean, and like I said, we played Tampa the last 2 nights, and there were maybe 2 guys on the team that I even recognized. But incredible.
I don't know any of those guys.
Oakland, incredible. But, caller, I want to get to your point about the minor league system. I told Duke maybe 2 weeks ago, I was looking at the minor league systems. The Boston Red Sox minor league system is ranked 27th, where the Washington Nationals, on the heel of a world championship, is 29th. Right. And I knew we had a horrible minor league system. With all these young pitchers like the Red Sox we threw in this year, they've been beaten around like a rented mule this year. We have no pitching in the minor leagues whatsoever. And it is great to have a good minor league system, but boy.
But Chaim Bloom, I'm sure that's obviously, the Red Sox keep unloading these players and getting prospects.
What happens is,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Duke. Go ahead.
That's okay. Go ahead. Shoot.
Yeah, kind of what happens is, and the Astros will be seeing it soon, when you do bring a group up and win, the price of keeping them certainly goes up. It's like football, winning a Super Bowl, and you can't keep everybody. And, all your great players are, they all kind of bloom together, and then your team kind of breaks apart, free agents, trades, or whatever, because you can't afford everybody, and your minor league is depleted because all the best minor leaguers are up in the majors right now. You win, you do not get good draft picks. When you're a winner, a lot of times you trade for that 1 or 2 persons or players that you think you need to have a World Series team. And, when you make those trades, you've got to give up a good minor league player. So you're going to find out most of your, top-notch teams do not have good minor league systems. Yeah. The teams that have won World Series lately or been to it, or your top playoff teams. Yeah. Now, I mentioned to you guys a few months ago, I think before the COVID-19, a team to watch is the Chicago White Sox. They had a minor league team. They're bringing them all up together, and the rest is going to be history with these guys. You take another year or 2, they will be a powerhouse. That Jimenez they brought up last year, this guy's an all-star. They brought up a young kid this year by the name of Louis Roberts that has about a dozen home runs so far this year, batting about 280. And they have a second baseman ready to come up.
And the guy they got from the Red Sox in the Chris Sale trade, Moncada.
Patient with these people. Yeah. They traded, I think it was with your team, Nighthawk, for Giolito, a pitcher that for 2 years had about a 6 ERA. They stuck with him, pitched him 160 innings a year, And last year, he caught on. I mean, he became a formidable pitcher. This year, he's pitching well again. So, the White Sox, they've lost all those years in a row, and they got good draft picks. And now, these kids are all coming up together, and they will have a dynasty as long as they can afford to keep all of them.
Question for you is, I think, and I might be wrong, Jan Makata, is he out with an injury? The former Red Sox?
Can't tell you, but he'd been
sure.
He's been playing well,
sure.
though.
Yeah,
he looks like he's very good.
He certainly has become an all-star.
Yeah, he's a real deal.
Yeah, sounds like a good team.
Questions for you, caller. Tell me about the Oakland Athletics. They're 4.5 games above the Houston Astros. So throw some names out. Tell me why they're so successful.
That's unreal.
Well, I just think they draft well. If they could afford to keep their players, they would probably win the World Series every year. They draft pitching well, and they say they do not draft a pitcher that does not have 3 polished pitches. They don't draft pitchers, well, this guy has potential. These kids come up, and they're ready to pitch. Yeah. I mean, they have 3 or 4 pitchers right now under 25 years old. Solid bullpen. You've got Chapman, the all-star at third. Olsen, the all-star at first. You have a kid named Piscotti in the outfield. There's another outfielder. I think he came over from the National League. He hits 40 home runs a year. Yeah. They just pitch well and they hit well. There's no secret formula.
They are really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, every year. A couple questions for you.
And I love their uniforms.
Yeah, the swinging A's. Question. Jackie Bradley, his contract is up in 2.5 weeks. What do you do with him? He's 30 years old. He's got a lifetime batting average of 238. You know what you're getting.
A great, one of the best defensive outfielders in the game.
To me, he's a great fourth outfielder, but I don't know if he warrants big money. Collar, do you keep him for next year? Re-sign him? What do you do?
Boy, he's already mentioned that he's going to test the free agency. Okay. He's a smart man, great defensive player, and he, I'm sure, sees what direction the Red Sox are going in. I don't think they will sign him because, they're going to break the team down even more, and they're going to start over. They have some other picks that they traded for, some young players this year that will probably be up next year, and I think they'll build fast. They're a good franchise, and you give them a couple years, I think they'll be right back there. I mean, the Yankees just seem to fall apart. Tampa seems to be good every year, but they're not great. So I think within a couple years, the Red Sox could be right back in the hunt.
My other question: should you be concerned about Andrew Benintendi?
Absolutely. How can you not be concerned?
Caller?
Bobby said. What do you think about Andrew Benintendi?
I think Duke just hit it on the head.
How can you possibly not?
But how could this kid look so good 2 years ago?
That happens once in a while.
I guess.
His at-bats, I'm seeing him swing. I've seen some of the worst at-bats I've ever seen from him.
Pitchers figure you out.
No, I guess I'm more optimistic, seriously, on the Red Sox.
He probably has trouble with a breaking ball, and that's all he sees because he was a fastball hitter when he, did really well in the beginning.
Yeah.
And lastly, are you, I'll use the word excited, about having the potential first pick in the June amateur draft?
Well, I'll be honest, no sports have really excited me this year. There's been so many distractions, it just doesn't seem, that exciting at all.
I'm not hugely excited because I just don't trust baseball drafts. How often did number one picks, can you give me a percentage?
Well,
how often did number one picks turn out to be bona fide good Major League?
80%.
Really? That
that
much?
Don't you remember 3 weeks ago I was in here
Do you have the
and
stats on that?
I read off the last 20 years of number one picks.
Okay.
Guys like Garrett Cole.
So number
Strasburg,
one picks
Bryce
are usually
Harper.
pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean,
I just in general the baseball draft. I just don't.
I'm rooting.
They used to have like 30 rounds in that or something? It's down to what?
This
10,
past year, I think they had 4
5?
rounds this past June. But I'm
still.
rooting for the Red Sox to lose because I would like for them to get their number one pick.
Is there just an obvious number one pick? Do you follow that at all out there?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Basically, college baseball will start up in February, and you'll see the bona fide contenders. And I'm at the point, too, with Washington, even though they've won 4 of the last 5, I got to the point where I still watch them every night. I was rooting for them to lose because they have the 7th worst record now. At this time last week, they had the 4th worst record. So, hey, I didn't mind a nice losing streak and get that top pick. Like I said numerous times, part of the problem the Red Sox,
it's a good year not to be good.
Absolutely. Part of the problem the Red Sox have had, they've been such a good...
these games aren't... No, I have not watched any baseball at all, and these cutout things are just a joke to me. I mean, it's just not real sports. We'll see what happens. There are a lot of teams, I read where the Rangers are cutting their team up right now. Chris Woodward, he played with Toronto for quite a while. He's a coach over there, and he's seen enough of some of the veterans. And what I read today that he got the okay for the GM. Some of their high-paid players are now being sent to the alternate site.
Yeah. One last question for you, caller. Due to the fact that your American League Fantasy Baseball League did not partake this year due to the extremely shortened season, do you think that has anything to do with your lack of interest this year, aside from the Red Sox?
Yeah, possibly some. I'd have to say yes, that does. But it's all these distractions and bubbles they live in. It just nothing seems. I guess I'm getting old. I'm used to the traditional baseball games, especially with the Red Sox. My wife and I used to watch almost all of those, and half of the fun was the announcers. Then they would put the cameras into the crowds. You get a couple clowns doing this or that, and, in the seats, and there was more entertainment than just the baseball game, and that is, surely missed.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, Bobby, thank you so much for calling.
Hey, you sounded great. Thanks for checking in, Mr. Bobby.
Okay, guys, and how's your football teams looking this weekend?
I think we're about to talk football.
Yeah, we're going to be kicking off here momentarily.
I'm kind of looking forward to the Pats with, I miss Mr. Brady, obviously, but it'll be an interesting year, kind of a new stuff to look at in Foxborough. I'm kind of psyched.
So, okay, good night.
Yeah. Okay, I'll let you guys go, and great job as usual.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot. See ya.
So
love to get some more calls, folks.
Last word on baseball.
Yeah.
Of course, the National League is playing the DH this year.
Right.
And finally,
we're not going to see pitchers ever
color
batting again.
Commentator, FP Santangelo, finally cracked and says, I don't like this DH. They gave their normal reasons about no double switching.
I don't like it either.
He said, we just got through this series. Do you know how many pinch hitters both teams use in this whole series? Zero.
Oh, really?
He says, there's no strategy in the game. The stuff you and I have talked about the last 40 years, but I agree with you.
But you're you're kind of, don't you think pitchers are never batting again?
No, I agree. I think it's.
So you're kind of resigned. You're not happy, but you're kind of resigned to that.
I enjoyed watching the DH for this brief season, 60 games, but I would like to get the pitcher back next year.
Not happening.
It's not going to happen.
Coming back.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we might as well. Oh, my tennis papers. Okay. Football. So.
Boy, we're talking 24 hours.
You can go Pats first if you want. Then I'll go.
Yeah,
John.
like I told caller Bobby. I'm kind of psyched in a way. I'm sorry, there's a new book out. Actually, it was funny. I called the St. Albans Free Library. I think Angela, really good, great lady. I called by mistake today. I was trying to call the hospital and got the wrong number, and the library answered. And I just had seen an interview, and I think. Felger and Maz, oh God, remind me, they're just going crazy about the love affair between Belichick and Cam.
Yeah.
Felger's going, you can imagine how he's reacting to that. Anyway, I got Angela and said, hey, she's a new book person of the library. I just saw an interview with this guy, Paul Benedict, I think I have his name right, just out with the book The Dynasty on the Pats. But it sounds like, spent a lot of time on this, sounds like a very good book.
They've talked about that on Boston Sports
So I
tonight.
think that may show up at the St. Albans Free Library at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of psyched. I mean, what can I say? Brady, I've been so lucky. Talk about absurd, any Pats fans, so lucky. But with a new regime, with a new QB, the Brady Belichick, I think they got tired. Hey, 20 years, they lasted. I think that's the thrust of the dynasty, that it lasted as long as it did is unbelievable. But anyway, I'm kind of psyched. I think that, I think we're not talking. In fact, I saw an interview with David Andrews, if I got his first name right, the center who's back.
Yep.
I saw a live interview with him this morning. I'm kind of, I think Belichick, I bet he's kind of psyched. I think everybody was getting tired of the obvious friction at times between Belichick and Brady, however incredibly successful they obviously were. So I'm kind of up for kind of a new thing in Foxborough.
My concerns with the Patriots is I think Cam will be better than average with New England, but I don't think you have a good running back stable.
But it's not. It's no worse than that. It's certainly no worse than average.
I wouldn't even. I don't think there's.
But
really,
how many good running back teams are there in the? Obviously the Titans come to mind, but you don't think of a lot of teams having great running backs. No, that's the least of my concern. Pass receiving is a much huger concern.
That's a concern.
I'm not concerned about running backs.
Well,
plus the guy who didn't play last year supposedly is looking good for what that's worth.
Who's that?
Was it Damian Harris, the guy who basically redshirted last year?
Yeah.
He was
Did I read his name recently? If he's injured,
I might be, but whoever he was well regarded and didn't play a snap last year.
Their defense was one of the very best defenses,
and they lost a bunch of people.
And that is what I'm the opt-outs to me is the biggest concern. You lost a lot of good players.
But they also had some young players who they were high on. They've had a lot of injuries, especially to their first-round draft picks. They've got some of those guys back who supposedly are decent players.
Now, their second-round pick, a safety last year, they might have ended up even cutting.
It's funny.
Kill Harry.
I've heard mixed things on him, but again, 1 year. I'm not hanging these guys after 1 year.
First year,
and for the record, Hawk, their quarterback Brady did not have a great year last year. You can blame it all you want on the offensive line. Brady did not have a great year.
Well, he did win 12 games last year.
Yeah, because they had a very good team, and Brady was obviously part of that. But nobody's going to tell me Brady had a star year last year.
Part of the reason I think he wanted out of Boston was because I think he sees that offense the same way I see it.
Why would you, if you're Brady?
The Patriots' offense, and I'm being kind, is mediocre at best. I'm not even sure if their offense is
I agree.
average.
Why would Brady? Why not go to a team that at least has a much higher potential?
Like Tampa, you've got Mike Evans and Chris Goodwin, the best wide receiver combo in all of football.
And they just picked up the very good running back who nobody seemed to
Leonard
want,
Fournette. And he was quoted yesterday, not very nice, I should say. I'm finally playing with a quarterback.
Oh,
So he
right?
kind of threw his Jacksonville quarterbacks under the bus. Probably true, but you don't really say that
But again,
out
the
loud.
Brady Belichick, I think everybody was getting, and those two guys were obviously getting tired of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Belichick's already had much higher praise, crazy as it is, for Newton than any praise he's had for Brady the last couple of years.
Because I think Duke 9 games could win that American Eastern division.
And aren't there extra, Hawk, you're on top of this, aren't there more teams qualifying for the play? I think there's easier.
There's one extra wild
extra
card team each conference. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I look at the conferences. Basically, I've been repeating myself for the last 15 years. It's a weak division. The New York Jets are not a good football team. The Miami Dolphins,
Miami's up and
God
coming.
bless them, they won 5 games.
Including a huge win,
Right.
a huge loss for the Pats in Foxborough in the last game.
And I said they would never last year win more than 2. I thought Brian Flores
they seem
with
up and
5 wins
coming.
should have got Coach of the Year. But nevertheless, 5 wins is still 5 wins. They've got Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Boy, 17th season.
Yeah.
Isn't he out of Harvard?
Yep.
Wow, amazing.
And
Buffalo seems like a good
showed
defense.
some life last year. To me, the jury's still out on the quarterback, Josh Allen. So
sure, it's not a. I don't think it's
where I don't think New England is a shadow of their former selves. It's just a weak division. And like I said, they go 9-7. That could be good enough.
I give the Pats a quick glance, no worse than 500, and I'd like to think a little better. 9 or 10 wins doesn't sound crazy.
I
to
predicted
me.
them 8-8, and I might have been soft. I certainly could go 9-7.
Which isn't to say they might make the playoffs.
Cam Newton is happy from the interviews I see.
Playing a 1-year contract.
Right.
I mean, a guy who people have forgotten about. He's done some stupid stuff. Boy, if there's any, do you need more incentive if you're Cam Newton, who was pretty much close to the top of the heap not that many years ago?
What he lacked in Carolina was leadership. He has no leadership skills at all. And if you look up the word sullen in the dictionary, it's going to have a picture of Cam. He does not handle adversity well at all.
Like I like to think, I mean, some players like that have come under Belichick's rule and have turned things around. So we'll see. And he certainly does give the offense, which we're acknowledging isn't great, another dimension. A guy who can run the ball. I mean, Brady, obviously, aside from his quarterback snaps.
See, and I agree with you.
Sneaks.
I'm a firm believer, whether people want to admit or not, people like discipline, okay? They like structure. They like to know where the road's leading. And Belichick certainly will give him that.
Maybe this may be a very good situation
they've got
for
a great
Cam.
game to start. They're 6-point favorites over the
I'd like to
Fish.
think they'll be remembering the Miami game that ended their last regular season. That was just an unbelievable loss in Foxborough.
Yep. So
anyway,
so the football, and I'll get.
So
to
we're
the
talking
Giants.
tomorrow night. First game tomorrow night.
First
right?
game.
Kansas City and Texans. Mahomes and Deshaun, who's now probably not going to be having to worry about money too much for the rest of his life, right?
10.5-point favorites.
Are they really?
And Houston's a decent football team.
At Kansas City, obviously.
At Kansas City.
And with some fans, I think. Aren't they letting about 20%? 22%? I read that a couple weeks ago.
That I don't know. So
unless that's changed, we'll see some. You'll actually hear some real fans making noise.
So quickly, Chicago's 1 point over Detroit. Colts are 7.5 over Jacksonville. The Jets are 5.5-point underdog to the Bills. Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders now, they're 1 point underdog to the Panthers. Matt Rule is the new head coach of the Panthers, with Teddy Bridgewater taking over at quarterback for the aforementioned.
Coming off a good year.
Green Bay is 3-point underdogs to the Vikings. The Brownies are 8-point underdog to the Ravens. Seahawks, this should be a good game. Battle of the Birds. Seahawks are giving 1.5 to the Falcons. Chargers is 4 points giving to the Bengals. San Francisco giving 7.5 to the Cards. Game of the week, without a doubt in my mind. And this spread is bigger than I thought it was going to be. New Orleans is giving Tampa 5 points
Really?
I think Tampa, forget the Brady.
Have you got a time? Is that, I guess, late Sunday night or late Sunday afternoon?
That's your
Sunday
national
night?
game, 4:25.
4:25.
Yeah, I think any football fan will be. In fact, I'll be away Sunday, but I've got the DVR all set up, and I can assure you I'll watch that game.
That might be a reason
full.
for me to not play late golf. We'll see.
And again, aside from the Brady mystique down there, this is a good offensive football team.
Yeah.
Good tight ends along with Gronkowski, who isn't the old Rob Gronkowski, but he'll definitely pitch in.
Yeah.
They have O.J. Howard, also a tight end. Rams and Cowboys. Cowboys are giving the Rams 2.5. Giants, Steelers. Steelers are giving the Giants 3, which is lower than I thought. I thought that was going to be about a 5.
And the game, sorry, that game is?
It's in the Meadowlands Monday night, 7:15 kickoff.
Interesting.
And the second Monday night.
Why would they have picked? That's an interesting Monday. Why would they have picked that game for one of the first 2 Monday night games?
Well, I can tell you, because the New York Giants are from New York, and they're currently tied for first place.
Yeah.
Now, if you wait till October, they could be 1-3.
But I mean, they made the schedule after their horrible season. Isn't that a weird Monday night game to throw in? No.
Second game, you've got Tennessee that had a nice finish last year. They're getting 2.5 from the Denver Broncos. So
interesting.
But the Giants, they released DeAndre Baker yesterday. So. And of course, he was involved.
Who had his issues there, right?
Battery assault, I think. He had guns pointed right at heads, taking money and watches from folks.
So you're happy that they told him to go away?
Well, Joe Judge is trying to create a new culture down there. Like this DeAndre Baker, fell asleep numerous times during team meetings. And not only do I blame the coach, I blame the players more. Somebody's in that defensive meeting and they see a player sleeping. I'm telling you,
not good.
I don't advocate giving a guy a punch in the face, but you give him a shot in the head or you do something to this guy because there's nothing more disrespectful than falling asleep at work.
So Giants, for your case, I think you're talking maybe no more than 5 wins, but obviously you'd like to see a team that seems to be on the way up, obviously, and Daniel Jones having a good second year.
I was being very generous.
Really? With 5?
7. No, I said 7. Now, I'm being generous. 6 and 10 may be more realistic. I looked at all the different polls from all the Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Pro Football Focus, everybody. They all have the Giants ranked right around 26, give or take. Okay,
right. That low.
That low. I'm looking at mock drafts for next year. They have the Giants picking 6 in the draft. So year after year, we're getting top 10 picks.
Obviously, in your case, you're just hoping to see some improvement here.
Yeah.
And Daniel looking pretty solid.
I'm a huge Daniel Jones guy. I'm not going to sit here and brag about him because as much upside as he did show, sports is sports. He could regress his second year, but he's always been in good shape, but he's lean this year. He's put 9 pounds on pure muscle.
He'll never forget. I told you when I'm driving back north from my southern trip, the morning after the draft and hearing hours and hours, much of it on New York radio, of Daniel Jones being just, crucified. I don't think Daniel, he's not going to forget. He's got, I'm sure, plenty to prove to a lot of critics many of whom I think eased off a bit. Hey, one Duke note, our good friend Mr. Whittemore on the golf course, then wasn't he saying, I don't think Notre Dame's playing football? And I said, yeah, they're playing football. Guess who Notre Dame's playing Saturday, 2:30, NBC, obviously at Notre Dame when I tell you they're playing.
Let me go to the Blue Devils of Duke.
Duke, and guess who their quarterback? I had dinner with my good friend Roy in Underhill last night. Thank you, Roy, for a great dinner in Carroll. And again, this is my friend Roy, who's a season ticket holder for years, not going to any. I don't think there are any fans of Duke, but anyway.
Does he drive down to?
No.
Or he flies down?
In fact, and my friend Mike in New York, New Jersey, they in fact usually just go down for one night, get down there Saturday, stay Saturday night, and come back Sunday.
What's the closest airport
Oh, I mean, Raleigh-Durham.
Raleigh?
They're in great shape.
Yeah.
Right between Raleigh and Durham.
What's the plane ticket from BTV?
Oh, I think he usually spends maybe $250 or so.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
But anyway, so their quarterback, I wasn't on top of this. They've got a guy who was maybe ahead of Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, or anyway, left because of Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
Chase Bryce, I think is his name. But I guess obviously reasonably highly touted if Clemson and Dabo grabbed him. He's a graduate transfer, I guess, so he didn't have to sit out a season. And I think has 2 seasons of eligibility.
Good.
And Coach Cutcliffe has taken over, I guess, as a head coach for 13th year, I think. Thank you, Coach Cut, for giving some respectability to Duke football. And I think he's also being his own offensive coordinator this year. Okay. But anyway, so Duke at Notre Dame.
So I need to know what the spread is in that game.
Because I don't get papers except for Sunday. Good.
21 points, maybe?
Yeah, 20 doesn't sound like a bad guess.
Yeah.
Although for the record, the last time Duke played at Notre Dame, a couple, 3 years ago, under Daniel Jones, stunning upset. They beat the Fighting Irish at Notre Dame not that many years ago.
Yeah.
Probably not going to happen Saturday.
Yeah. So I will be honest, I don't pay all that much attention to college football.
Big thing is they're playing, and the ACC has been, I think, right on the fence about playing. I think I mentioned this last week. Some of the college presidents, including the college president at my second alma mater, UNC Chapel Hill, some of the line from some of these folks was, "Hey, if the students aren't on campus, we're not playing football." We'll get so much for those words. The students aren't on campus at Chapel Hill right now.
So
anyway, there actually been a couple. Navy played last Saturday. I paid no attention, but there have been a few kind of minor games. But this Saturday, I don't have this in front of me. But some games.
I've got to be honest with you. I stopped watching SportsCenter this past winter. I couldn't deal with their politics, so I just absolutely.
Although, in fairness, I think Scott Van Pell's CVP, I think he's their midnight guy.
Yep.
I think I'll catch him every once in a while. I think he's pretty solid. I don't think he wanders off into politics, does he? I think he's pretty solid.
But anybody that employs a racist like Stephen A. Smith.
I'm glad you mentioned. I actually heard his. I'm glad you mentioned
his rant about Steve Nash.
Right. For the record, did you hear? I heard his whole rant. For the record, he did start off, for the record, by having very good words about Steve Nash. And you may not think he just said that just to soften some of the criticism. But he had very good words about Steve Nash. But again, just got into saying, in this case, picking a guy with no experience, give me a break. But that was an interesting.
Steve Nash had a press conference today.
Yeah, is that right?
Admitted, yes, I did skip ahead of the line.
Yeah.
But being a 18-year veteran, Hall of Famer,
I know something about basketball.
Point guard. Now, Steve Nash, probably one of the top 10 smartest basketball players. Canadian kid from Ontario. Yes. Okay. Would I have a problem, Steve Nash, with no coaching experience?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been coached for 18 years in the NBA. He's been coached in college and high school. I think he knows the thing about basketball. But
we're real impressed with Stephen A.
Yeah. So
I don't catch him much. I mean, I guess that's what cable TV comes down to. You just make a lot of noise and stuff. But interesting rant. But I did catch a good back and forth on that.
Yeah. So the New York Football Giants changes that'll be noticeable on offense.
Yeah.
Last year, they had the worst free agent signing in the history of the National Football League, Nate Soldier, getting $19.5 million.
Boy, is that right? You mean that literally, huh?
One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
And so he opted out this year. Thank you. We just saved $19.5. Yeah. So we drafted Andrew Thomas, 4th overall pick out of Georgia, will be our new left tackle.
Yeah.
We've got big Nick Gates, 6 feet 5 inches, will be our new center, taking the place of John Halapo.
Yeah.
And last year's right tackle was Mike Remmers, who's now with Kansas City, I think. We've got Cam Fleming, former Patriot, former Dallas Cowboy, will be manning the right tackle position. So there is some improvement here with this team. I like Joe Judge's extremely old school attitude.
Yeah.
He's not a huggy type football coach.
He's playing well, I assume, before the New York media so far.
There-
Again, no games played.
Yeah,
but,
there are a lot of people on the internet taking
Yeah.
raps on him because, everybody gets a ribbon now in today's society, and people don't like that type of discipline. But and I think we talked about last week, the people that played for New England, even though they won a ring, they get out of there and say, "Oh boy, what a relief it is to get away."
No,
they really made you work in Boston.
Right.
But
although
that's your
Belichick
job.
doesn't get a ton. I mean, there are not too many expatriate players who have gone hard against Belichick and stuff.
Right.
You got to think they appreciate rings. We need to talk golf for a couple
I do
minutes.
have golf too, so go ahead. Talk about
Boy, Dean,
this weekend.
what about Dustin Johnson? Pretty impressive. Again, we had the FedEx Cup. It comes down. For the record, I told you, a guy I like a lot, who I've seen in person, Xander Schauffele. For the record, Xander had the best 72 hours at Eastlake, as in 4 strokes better than DJ. But DJ came in leading with his 10 under par and deserved it. DJ's been playing out of his mind.
Did you watch it on Monday?
I did catch a fair amount of it, and actually radio. Again, I love my Sirius XM. I probably caught half on radio. In fact, actually, you make me just maybe remember the radio folks, PGA, radio network. They were incredibly apologetic. They really blew it, kind of at the end. I mean, the ceremonies never mean much to me. A lot of times I won't even watch them, but of course, they're covering the whole season, and they screwed up the audio. They were incredibly apologetic. After GJ wins, guy comes on and says, "Hey, basically that we really blew. We're so sorry."
So they messed up the audio?
We don't have the audio of the championship
I wonder
ceremony.
if our engineers listening. I think we should fire people that have audio issues on a TV show.
Our guy does a fine job.
We didn't have audio for the first 12 minutes last week.
But I was impressed. See, this was if we made anybody mad, this was a full-throated apology. Anyway, DJ had a great turn. He was leading by 5 strokes going into Monday. Of course, they ended on Labor Day, as you noted. And Xander Schauffele came in. Oh, and your guy Justin Thomas, who you're not real high on, but a great golfer. They came in tied for second at 18 under. So DJ picks up the 15 mil.
He won $15 million.
But again, of the 3 FedEx tournaments, he won 2 of them, and only lost on the holy loss when John Rahm knocks in the 66-foot putt.
Yep.
So he almost won the last 3 tournaments. And of course, for that matter, as I think about it, he had the lead in the PGA going into the last round, but kind of lost his lead there.
So I wouldn't be mistaken.
So he was playing some great golf.
Dustin is ranked number 1 now.
And was named player of the year by his peers.
Is John Rahm number 2?
No, probably.
Yeah.
I can only assume DJ is number 1.
Is he Spain? Is that where John Rahm's
I told you the
from?
great story about John Rahm. Obviously, in high school or wherever he was in Spain, that he was a great golfer. The word got out, and Arizona State, I think, gave him I'm sure, a full golf scholarship. Comes over to Arizona State. Talk about tough time now to go to college. How about you come over from Spain and can't speak English? So he speaks fluent English now. So give the guy a lot of credit. I think he got that together, and probably not in a bad part of the country. Probably ran into a few folks who he could speak Spanish with. But John Rahm, I think, was probably number 2, and Justin Thomas probably number 3.
I think I saw some story on TV, and it might have been about Arizona State's program.
Yeah.
And
Jennifer's got a degree from Arizona State.
It was incredible. Okay, they have their own golf course, and I guess I was stupid / naive not to think that these big schools own their own golf courses.
Oh yeah, Duke's got its own beautiful golf course. So does Chapel
and
Hill.
Like Dartmouth, I think they reported last week that they were dropping golf.
Oh, really?
Along with rowing and a couple other sports.
I bet rowing at one point was pretty. They're running the Connecticut River there.
Yeah.
That was probably a big sport.
But it was shocking to me. I mean, the lounges. I mean, we're talking multi-million dollar.
We talked about Clemson and their rather nice facility for the football players.
Clemson built, I think, $150 million.
I was going to say 60 mil, but it was a lot of money, whatever it was.
Football facility to train. Lounges, video, just.
But money, even Duke, not anything like that, but just to improve the stadium. I think my friend Roy yesterday said they might have spent a couple $100 million just improving the stadium.
Yeah.
Anyway, but anyway, so kudos to DJ. He had an unbelievable finish, and again, we have some hopefully very good golf a week from tomorrow, the U.S. Open, at Winged Foot, which is I think Westchester County outside New York City. But boy, after that, I'm not sure. Do they start the wraparound season again? But of course, then the Masters in November. So we got two biggies left. We got U.S. Open a week from tomorrow, and the Masters in November. And Suns fans, of course, with both of them.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to enjoy having two of the majors during the fall.
Yeah, that's a good November, nice time for it.
I certainly won't be doing any swimming anytime soon.
Yeah.
Now, is the Ryder Cup this year, or did they cancel?
I think they bagged it. And British Open Championship, they bagged.
Okay, so they're playing.
I think they bagged them
in
both.
Napa this weekend at this.
There is a
Safeway Open.
Oh, is that right? I didn't even know that. Okay.
Starting tomorrow. Is this the start of what you call the silly season?
Wraparound season. Boy,
because I heard FedEx,
it might be because FedEx is basically the end of the season.
Right, they said the end of. I heard them say.
Huck, I didn't even
end
realize
of the season.
That. So Napa Valley.
I know you used the term the silly season.
Right. I think it's officially wraparound, but. Yeah, well, the silly season was more when there wasn't the official early start to the season, when they would just have some, go off to a nice resort or something. But no, that may well be the start of the official wraparound season for 2020, 2021.
And when was the Ryder Cup
scheduled for?
Yeah.
I think probably right, typically FedEx would have been, came in at kind of the normal time. U.S. Open's June, British Open Championship July, and then FedEx coming in. Well, it probably would have been a little earlier, maybe August.
Yeah. So
anyway,
okay. I bent my glasses, so I think that.
You just did that on the show?
I don't know what happened from my house to over here.
Well, someone who could probably help you big time. Our good friend Dr. J. Those guys are great about that.
So that is it. We're done. I'm going to get outside, get some fresh air because it's about 98 degrees in here. So for Alan and Richie Cunningham, our engineer, my pal, Mr. Duke Forrest, I'm the Nighthawk. And until next week, everyone, remember, you do not have to be a great athlete to be a good sport. See you next week and enjoy football weekend.
Go Celts.